Why, hello there. Welcome. Welcome. Hello there from the budding rural metropolis of Owen Sound, located snugly in the northern half of southwestern Ontario. My name is James. I'm your host today. I'm afraid Kat wasn't able to make it to the podcast this morning due to life events. Our hearts go out to you, Kat. I know that it's yeah. Life throws us curveballs, and it's never easy. And so when that happens, we need to be there for each other as much as we can. And so yeah. But today is going to be a little bit more haphazard. I always feel like am going to. I always feel like I bounce off when I have somebody to talk to interact with, and that gives me a little bit more oomph and flair stuff while things are going on. And thank you for hello chat, hello and welcome. Yes, thank you for reminding me about the music. I like it, but it is a little intense too. I hope that is probably better at this point, and hopefully I remember to turn it back on when I end the stream today. Regardless, like I was saying, hello and welcome. Less waffling about me being uncomfortable and more, hey, let's talk about what we're all here for, and that is VAWMA. So quick recap. VAWMA, as you can see below me, is an acronym or a nonsense word. It's and hopefully with use and association, it will eventually become to be known as a place where people can go to in order to find connection, find something to do, and get recompensed for it. At VAWMA, we are the Voluntary Association for Work and Mutual Aid. And we are a group of people group of friends that are coming together first and foremost to check in on each other. And so that's where we start off, as a mutual aid gathering. From that, we recognize that we are a bunch of laborers whose primary resources are our skills, our talents, our education, the things that we can do with our hands or feet or whatever the case may be. So recognizing that, we naturally come together as a labor unit, and organizing ourselves, we begin to do the next thing that we come together for, which is to create cooperative businesses. Human beings like to do stuff. As much as everybody complains that if we ever, had communism, nobody would ever do anything. Categorically untrue. Human beings love to do stuff. Everything's just gate kept behind paywalls. So we're trying to come up with a way that we can get people the money that they need in order to get past these paywalls, and in order to be able to live a life worth living. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. We start off as a mutual aid, a network of friends, pulling together our resources, and as we pull together our resources, we start businesses. And that's our intention here at VAWMA, is to start a series, a network, family of businesses, like a genuine family of businesses, where we are going to be working together, making sure that everybody who works with us gets paid a living wage, first and foremost. No ands, if or buts. If you're working at VAWMA, you should be able to afford to live. You should not be running a deficit. That's one of our guiding principles. And to that end, we believe that you should be engaged, that our members should be engaged democratically, right? That they should have a say in what it is that they're doing and how they're doing it, and when they're going to do it. So we also give control of the schedule over to the workers. I know everybody's thinking, well, no one will ever work. Don't worry about it. We're going to have people that want to work, our dedicated members. We're going to get to that here in a little bit. And if you don't want to work, that's fine. You can be a community member. We'll get to that in a little bit too. Foreshadowing, folks. Okay, so our main thing, of course, is to create again, that network of cooperative businesses. And as we do so, we'll start with one. We'll see where that goes, and as that one becomes established and begins to produce a surplus, we'll use the surplus that the first business we establish creates in order to invest back into the community, pay it to the workers and to the community according to what they put into to the cooperative. As well as to invest in new future businesses. Human beings, I find, are amazingly powerful, imaginative creatures. And if you give us half a second to come up with a solution to a problem, we'll do it. And especially if you give us some coffee. And to that end, that's part of what VAWMA is, an attempt to do, is to become a forum where people with ideas can come to. Everyone here is willing to help you get that idea off the ground, and then get that idea off the ground. So, last week we were talking about the 7 cooperative principles and how it relates to what we're trying to do with the Voluntary Association for Work and Mutual Aid. That is colloquially known as VAWMA. So what we're going to be doing, what we were covering last week is, what were we covering last week? We were covering democratic member control. So the week previous we had talked about voluntary and open membership. Last week we talked about democratic member control as it relates to the Voluntary Association for Work and Mutual Aid. And this week we're going to be talking a little bit about member economic participation, which is, where does the money go? And that's one of my more favorite topics, because ultimately at the end of the day, that's why we're doing this. We're doing this because we're all tired of being wage slaves. Don't get me started. I will rant. And we got a pretty tight thing that we need to go through, so I got to stay on point. So, with democratic member control, we were talking about how we wanted to structure ourselves. We talked a little bit about how we want to use sociocracy within our cooperatives as much as we can, where we can, in order to accomplish the purposes of consensus-based decision-making amongst the group. We talked a little bit about how we're going to have our dedicated members and our community members. And also, before I get too far into this, just a caveat, a little note, this is a work in progress. So if you're joining us from the future, hello from the past. I hope the future is better. We're certainly doing what we can right now in order to make it better. Regardless, hello and welcome. And if things are different in the future than what we're talking about now, I'm not at all surprised that we, took some of the ideas that we're talking about here and the rubber hit the road, and we discovered that things worked very differently, in the environment and the set circumstances that we found ourselves in when we got this thing going. I think I got all the tenses right. Point of the matter is, this is all in flux. So this is a snapshot of the idea. I'm calling it like the beta version 4 of the VAWMA idea. We've kind of been going through all this as we've been going through all this. So anyway, democratic member control. It's one member, one vote. We use sociocracy in as much as possible. We have a board of directors. It's voted on by every member, irrespective of member class, and you get one vote to determine who's going to be our president, who's going to be our treasurer, and who's going to be our secretary, and who's going to, if you are a community member rep, or if you're a community member, who your community member rep will be, and if you are a dedicated member, you get to decide who participate and who will be the delegate for your circle on the board of directors, or for your business on the board of directors. So that brings us all today to where we are going to talk about member economic participation, which is a lot of fun. As I'm sure you can tell from the title, we're going to be talking about money. Again, we're going to be starting off today. We're going to be turning to our good friends at the Ontario Cooperative Association, who have gratefully made available many resources, including a very helpful cheat sheet with regards to the 7 cooperative principles. 7, boom. We have we've gone through the first 2. We're now up to this little blurb here. I'm going to read out what they've got to say, and then I'm going to opine a little bit on what they've got, and then I have a little. We're going to attempt to do a slide presentation for the show today. We're going to see how that goes, and hopefully it works. Fingers crossed. Member economic participation. So I'm going to put my glasses back on so I can read. In a cooperative, members contribute equitably to and democratically control the capital of their co-op. At least part of that capital is usually the common property of the cooperative. They usually receive limited compensation, if any, on capital subscribed as a condition of membership. Members allocate surpluses for any or all of the following purposes. Developing the cooperative. That's 1. Possibly by setting up reserves, part of which at least would be indivisible. Benefiting members in proportion to their transactions with the cooperative, and supporting the activities approved by membership, and supporting other activities approved by membership. Sorry, I misread that last little bit there, so I'm going to reread it. So picking up from the part of which, setting aside some for reserves, part of which at least would be indivisible, benefiting members in proportion to their transactions with the cooperative, and supporting other activities approved by membership. So that's a bit of a head smash there, but let's go through it. When members contribute equitably to the cooperative, what they're talking about, I believe, is the buy-in, and how we're going to be taking care of that with within VAWMA is we're going to break our membership up into 2 classes to begin. We're going to go into a little bit more detail about that here with our slide presentation, but suffice to say, we want to make entry into our cooperative as easy as possible, and so we want to make the barrier for entry that is gatekept, unfortunately, behind a paywall, which regrettably everything has to be in our society. We want to make that barrier to entry as low as possible, while still actually being able to produce something that we can use in the functioning real world. So our community members is the tier of membership that are people that are wanting to support what we're doing, that are wanting to buy into the business and want to support the business as a consumer. They don't want to work at the business. They don't want to be the people running the counter. They don't want to be the people doing the purchasing. They don't want to be the people. They just want to show up to a store that has what they want and get it at a decent price. And the way our system works is we have a form of patronage as well. So we will, as this talks about, as one of the possibilities, that at least part of the capital. That usually members will receive limited compensation, if any, on capital subscribed as a condition of membership. So this basic idea, as I understand it, is that just because you've put money into a cooperative doesn't mean that you can expect to get money out of it. Not all businesses are designed to make money, or sometimes they're non-profits. Sometimes they are there to provide a service and not to provide a return on investment. And that's what cooperatives are particularly useful for, if you want to set them up that way. We want to set VAWMA up in a way that not only make sure everybody gets paid, but and provide services. We also do want to make a surplus, and we want to share that around with our members. And so we intentionally want to set up our cooperative in such a way that it incentivizes our members to spend money with us, so that at the end of the day, we will share with our consumer members a part of what it is that we make, and we call that the consumer patronage. And that's one of the ways that we engage in member participation. So I'm not going to talk too much more about this particular cooperative thing, because I'm actually very excited, because I have something I want to share with you guys, and that is some details. So let's go to the share screen. Let's see how that looks. How do you like that for a transition? There we go. And we're going to back up a little bit. I was testing this out earlier. So, okay. So everything seems to be working out pretty good. So, in talking about member economic participation, basically we want to make sure that the members of VAWMA that are bought in, because remember, people are members, they are the owners of this business at the end of the day. And so to accomplish the purposes of democratic control, and to accomplish the purposes of economic participation, we want to give back to the people based on what it is that they give in. And both in terms of the money that they spend with us, or the hours that they spend with us, as giving their labor and skills, that sort of thing. So let's for a minute presume that VAWMA is in it to make some money, and we're in it for the profit. And if you within a cooperative, the profit is what's generally known here as the surplus, and it's more or less the same thing for our purposes. It's the money that's left over after the wages and the expenses and the taxes and all of this have been paid out. So after we've got a business, we're doing stuff, we're making stuff. Let's say we got the coffee pub, because that's an idea that we've been toying around with here. So let's say we got our coffee pub, and we're making money. We're making money hand over fist. We're a rival to Tim Hortons and Coffee Culture and all of them, and in the process of doing this, we're hopefully going to make some money. And when we make some money, because when we first get started, we're going to be playing catch up. But when we make some money, we're going to pay taxes on the money that we make after we've paid wages and expenses and all that other good stuff. The CRA is going to come to us and say, hey, how much money did you make? And they're going to look at our books, and they're going to say, well, you made this much money, so we're going to take this much money and we're going to put it to invest it in Canada. And I'm going to say thank you. And then we're going to go on, and we're going to take what's left over, and the board of directors, which is going to be made up of community members, dedicated members, and various other membership classes that we have that are involved in this enterprise. And they are going to determine how much of that is going to be set aside to savings, and then we're going to have future investments that are going to be set aside, and the board of directors again determines how much of that's going to be, and then the board of directors determines how much is going to be set aside for payouts. And payouts are fun, because payouts is when all of us who are members see the money that we've all been working so hard and so diligently to produce. This is the real sort of like fabled profit zone, if you will. that you see in the businesses. This is when they talk about shares being paid out. This is what they're sort of thing that they're talking about. Well, in a shared company, in a big corporation, you get money based on the amount of shares that you have purchased in the thing. In a cooperative, it's one member, one vote, or one share sort of idea, kinda. The share that you have in a cooperative entitles you to something that we call patronage, and patronage is kind of like a share, only you can't buy it with money. You have to get it through participating in the cooperative. So you can't go to the stock market, for example, and buy a patronage share. You have to come to one of our VAWMA cooperatives, spend some money buying some of our product, and we count the money that you're spending towards the product that you're buying towards your patronage, or the share that we calculate for your patronage. So anyway, we've got these taxes, government gets theirs, savings, got to save it for the future, and future investments, we got to save for the rainy day, and we got to build for the future, and then payouts. And payouts will then be split between our community investment fund, which I'm very excited about. I'm sure you cannot tell. And then we've got the consumer patronage, which I've been talking a little bit about, workers patronage, which I've been alluding to, producer patronage, which I haven't mentioned at all, and dividends, which we've loosely been talking about, and we're going to talk a little bit about today because I'm a little excited. It's a new concept. I don't know if we will be able to do it or not, but we're going to talk about it today anyways, just because it's relevant. So today, we've also got, for our purposes of running the business, when we get started, we are going to, the business is going to be generating the surplus. We're going to be starting off with 2 member classes, and that we're interested in. And that is the community members. These are the members of the community. I'm thinking retirees, maybe families, working families that already have jobs elsewhere, and they're not interested in working at, say, the coffee pub that we're starting. They're already, but they're interested in being a part of what it is that we're doing. They're friends, they're family members, they are maybe even people that are strangers but are interested in community ownership. Either way, community members have a buy-in associated with this, and it's going to be what we're currently proposing to be $300 a year. I mentioned earlier we didn't want the barrier to entry to be too horrible, and $300 in one pop is pretty big. So we are willing to spread that $300 a year membership buy-in out over 12 months, making it $25 a month. Again, less than $1 a day if you're taking it throughout the whole month. And it gives you ownership in a company that will give you a slice of the pie of the payouts. We will give you 1 share for every $50 that you spend at VAWMA Business. So if you're resigned to the fact that your morning routine involves going to a drive-through and getting a coffee and a bagel and a donut or something, and that's how you start your day, and you're resigned to that fact that you are going to pay somebody else to make you your breakfast, because that's just that's life, baby, in Canada in the early ish 21st century, and you might as well let that money that you're spending at the business count towards something that's going to potentially give you money back at the end of the year. So this is all based on the premise that we more than break even, that we make a surplus, that we make more money than we spend, and if we do, this is what we do with part of the proceeds. You will get it. We'll take some of the surplus, some of the profits, and we'll create a pool of money. And we will say to everybody who is a community member and who spent money at our business, for the $50 that you spend, you will get 1 share of this pot of money that we've got. And let's say, just for example's sake, that this payout section is worth, just to make things ridiculously easy, $1 million. We've got $1 million that is being split between the community investment fund that was over here, consumer patronage, worker patronage, producer patronage, and dividends. And so, if you're any good at math, I'm not particularly, but I've done some. Uh, you've got five groups, five sections that we're splitting that $1 million through. So that's an easy 200,000 each. Keep it equal. And so the consumer patronage pile is going to be worth around 200,000 bucks. And so you, as a consumer member, resign to your routine instead of going to the corporate people who take your money and give you a product. We will take your money and we will give you a product as well, but we'll also give you a patronage share for every 50 bucks you spend. So let's say you come to the drive-through on Monday and you spend 15 bucks on some food, some coffee, for you and your passenger. You haven't hit the $50 mark yet. No, that's fine. We're gonna come by Tuesday. You're gonna buy some more stuff. It's gonna be you're gonna spend 20 bucks this time. Okay, so we're up to what does it bring us up to? 35 bucks. Okay, still haven't hit 50. But Wednesday comes around, and you're gonna spend another 15. Ding ding ding! You just spent 50 bucks at our establishment. And we're every time you go up, just like you do it to Morton's, you kind of flash your phone, or we might have like a QR codes on a business card or something, a membership card, something that you can flash, something that allows us to track who you are and when you're doing purchasing with us, so that we can give you your patronage share and make sure that you are getting a slice of that 200,000 now. So if you were the only person, only customer, only community member to have ever spent $50 at us, at that point you would be the sole person who would get that 200,000. You obviously are not going to be the sole person. We're going to have multiple people spending multiples of $50, getting creating multiples of these shares. That's going to split that 200,000 up over the course of the year. At the end of the day, your shares may look like to be a couple of dollars a piece, maybe even a couple of dollars and cents. And that's going to be okay, because hopefully you'll have spent a lot of money at us over the course of the year, and we'll be getting we're going to be able to get stuff back to you, is the point. So at any rate, the perceptive of you, so we got that's for our community members. You're $25 a month, $300 a year, and that gets you our consumer patronage share. Spent too long on that. The next thing we've got are the dedicated members, because these are the people that are going to be on the line for running the business. These are the people who, when we pitched the business idea, they were like, yes, that's my dream job. That's what I want to do. That's who I want to be a part of. And we're going to we want to buy in. We want to be part owners, and we want to be there like every other day, because we want to keep an eye on our investment, because this is the sort of thing that we want to do with our lives as a career or as something to do. Or maybe it's just a job, but it's a good paying job. We're going to be paying a living wage. We're going to be having control over the schedule. Nobody can fire you if you decide that you don't want to work a particular schedule. We just, turn to the next owner member, dedicated member, and say, okay, does anybody else want to work this shift? But we can get into how that works next week when we talk about autonomy and independence. The important thing to recognize is that the dedicated members are going to be the people that have a little bit more skin in the game. So these are going to be the people that create the circle. Remember, I talked about the sociocracy circles before. These are going to be the people that create the circle that runs the business that we're going to be starting. In this case, the coffee pub. And in this particular example, I've already done the calculations, but normally it would be whatever the startup cost is for the business, split between however many dedicated members we need to run that business to start, and then spread that buy-in out over a period of time that makes it affordable for those of us who are buying into the business. So again, the goal here is to eliminate barriers of entry for those of us who are on the poor working class side of things. Our goal is to encourage worker ownership here. So to that end, let's just say in our hypothetical coffee pub and bakery, it's going to cost us $500,000, $500,000 to get it up and running. And we're going to take that $500,000 and we're going to split it between 25 members to get this coffee pub up and running off the ground and bakery. And we are going to so we're now 500,000 divided by 25 people, which works out to be $20,000 a piece. Okay, so that's fine. I don't have $20,000 to my name, but we're going to spread that out, that $20,000, and we're going to say we're going to give ourselves 10 years to pay it into that, up to that, the 20 grand. Okay, well now that's $2,000 a year. That's a lot more manageable for somebody like me. And $2,000 a year ends up being $166.67 a month, more or less. And that will give us the $2,000 a year that we need in order to collectively start pooling together resources in order to be able to go to like a credit union or a bank or another cooperative group of cooperatives and say, hey, we've got dedicated members, we've got community members, we've got people, and we've already got people kicking in this amount. We've got commitments for people kicking in this total amount over the X period of time. Can you give us cash? Can we get the full amount that we need to get started with the little bit down that we've got so far? And then we go and get the money that we need to get the thing started. And then when we've got the money we need to get things started, we get started. And then we start making money, see the surplus. And then if and when we make money, the dedicated members who have put significantly more of their money into the pot than the community members have, they're also going to be working the business, and when they work the business, they're going to be receiving a part of the workers' patronage. Now, remember, we took the $1 million that was left over after taxes, savings, future investments, and we put 200,000 of it into the community investment fund. We put 200,000 of it into the consumer patronage fund. We're going to put 200,000 of it into the workers' patronage fund, and that's going to go there. And we're going to give access to the workers' patronage fund to the dedicated members, or basically anybody who is working at our cooperative business who's a member. And we're going to give them, in this particular case, if they're a dedicated member, 1 share for every shift that they work, which works out. Now, just to be clear, most people are used to shifts being 8 hours long. In the way that we're designing our first business, the shifts are going to be 4 hours long. So each shift is 4 hours. So just keep that in mind. Now, you could easily work a double shift in a day, 8 hours, a normal work day for most people. And in that particular case, if you were a dedicated member, you would receive 2 shares of patronage at the end of the day. So any of the money that we make at the end of the year, that 200,000, I would get 2 shares out of that 200,000 after working 2 shifts. And that's our basic premise for how we're going to engage in member economic participation. Now, that's how we're going to do things in the beginning. I also mentioned earlier, and then for the more perceptive of you, you're also going to see investor members. These two are owner class. These two membership classes, these people are owners. Um, Unlike in a traditional business, this next, oh, I should also point out, dedicated members, in addition to receiving workers' patronage, they receive consumer patronage as well. So whenever a dedicated member, goes off shift, or hell, even if they're on shift, if they're taking a break, or they want to make themselves a coffee while they're working, then seeing as we are a coffee pub, then they would, buy a coffee, same as everybody else. They would pay for it. They might get a staff discount, or dedicated member discount, or consumer community member discount, or something like that. But they still pay for it. They still cover the cost of the coffee, and it all counts towards their patronage, their consumer patronage. So again, for every dollar you spend, for every $50 you spend with us, you get a consumer share of patronage, and then the workers get to the dedicated members, I should say, get to participate in consumer patronage as same as they get to participate in the workers' patronage. Community members do not participate in worker patronage for the simple fact that they are not working at the business. Not putting in hours, you're not getting patronage. It's that simple. So now let's say that, an alternative way, just a little aside, and this is not a for sure thing. So this is experiment. So if this never transpires, or this doesn't pan out in the future, it was probably because we found out that we couldn't do it, or there was a legal snag, or we didn't understand something, or which is entirely possible. And that's the investor members. And our investor members here, their buy-in is a little bit different, because they're not buying into the business per se. What they're doing is they are buying shares in these dividends over here. And so when we make the payout, back up. We need $500,000, as we established before, in order to get this business off the ground. So we're going to take that $500,000 that we need, and we're going to split them up into 10,000 shares. And we're going to say, okay, we're going to split this dividend pile that we're going to make equal to all these guys. We're going to sell shares in this pile, and anybody who can afford one of these shares can buy one. You can buy one, or you can buy all of them. It's very important to note, though, that these shares are not controlling shares. These are not voting shares. Pardon me. Sorry, I'm just getting over COVID. These are not controlling shares. These do not give you more votes. If you bought all 10,000 shares, you would not have 10,000 votes for who would be the CEO of VAWMA at that point. All this does is this gives you a share in the dividend process, and the payout is just distributed according to the individual shares that you've purchased. And that's one of the ways that we could possibly raise money without having to go to the banks, without having to go to credit unions, or go to other cooperatives, as much as I would enjoy going to other cooperatives. Pardon me. Pardon me. But this way, we would just owe it to the people who invested in us at the beginning. And this is kind of designed with the idea that you have community members. I'm picturing you might have a rich retiree who, once had a business. Maybe they had a coffee shop. Maybe they had a pub, in Toronto, and then they retired to the Owen Sound community. And they like the cut of our jib. They think we're young. They think we're go-getters. They want us to. They want to support what we're doing. And so they become community members. And they stand for election. And they participate in the electoral process. And they show up every day, and they buy breakfast religiously at our establishment, and they're the life of the party, and they want to invest more. Well, they can't become a community member again, and because it's one person, one membership, one member, one vote. Well, the investor, they could become an investor member. They could buy shares. And the idea is that we would sell them at $50 a share for the 10,000 shares we got. And then we would use that to then raise more money. So if they wanted to invest an extra $10,000 in us because they had 10,000 kicking around, because some people do, not me, but some people. And so this imagined rich retiree has an extra 10 grand that they're like, you know what, I'm comfortable with what you guys are doing. You guys don't need to be borrowing that money from the bank. I'll give you that money instead, and then that's $10,000 influshed into our cash into our business that we can then turn around and put to really good use. And at the end of the day, that can help us make more money, which then gets distributed back to people, in the form of dividends. Okay, so we're now established. We're going along, blah, 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 blah. We've discovered now that we need to hire more people. It's just busy, 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 busy. So what do? Well, we're going to create... we could hire employees. We could pay them minimum wage. We are legally entitled to do that as a corporation, which is technically what a cooperative is. And there are laws in place that are established for that, all that. But I say that if we're going to hire somebody to do the work that our dedicated members are doing, but the people that we're hiring do not have the kind of money. They don't have $2,000 a year. They don't have $20,000 or a commitment to 10 years that they're willing to give, but they're willing to do the work that needs to be done in a coffee pub and bakery. Okay, we'll hire them and we'll give them we'll offer to them membership in the form of becoming union members. So we're going to create a third class of member, owner class of member, technically a worker, and we're going to set them up in the same pretty much identical as buy-in as our community members. That'll be $300 a year or $25 a month, and that will go towards the running of the business. That will go to their buy-in, and that gives them similar to the dedicated members. That gives them access to workers' patronage. But their patronage is going to be a little bit different because they're not paying the same kind of buy-in that our dedicated members are. These guys are paying $2,000 a year. These guys are paying $300. Well, we're still going to give you some patronage, and it's going to be decent. It's going to be more than what the disparage is between the 2,000 and 300 is, where workers will get one share of patronage for every shift they work. We'll give our union members half a share of patronage for every one shift they work. So for every 4 hours you work, you get half a share of patronage. For every 8 hours you work, you get a full share of patronage. Make sense? So, at the end of a 40-hour work week, if you're a dedicated member, you could expect to have, if you worked full-time hours, you could expect to have 10 shares of patronage, whereas if you are a union member and you've worked full-time hours, 40 hours a week, you can expect to walk away with 5 shares of patronage at the end of the work week. And that adds up at the end of the year. And when we add it all up, we divided up the surplus, that 200,000, between everybody based on the shares that they've accumulated and generated, based on how much they worked or how much they have spent with us, or how many shares they purchased of the dividend fund. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. As we grow and expand, the members participate in that. There's a theoretical, and this again, we may or may not implement this thing here. There could be some problems with it, but it also might be possible solutions as well. And that is what happens when we have a producer member. And silly me, I went and forgot. Union members also get to participate in consumer patronage. So again, for every $50 they spend at one of our VAWMA cooperatives, they get a share of consumer patronage as well. So their money's just as good as everybody else's at VAWMA. Producer members. So for the more perceptives of you have noticed there was a category for producer patronage, but we don't have producer members. Well, now we do. Producer members are they're a little bit different. They're kind of like our dedicated members. So they have a associated buy-in, and the buy-in is based on the startup budget minus what they bring to the table. So every producer, in this particular case, I'm thinking of individuals who may be, like, say, a sole proprietor of a pre-existing business, or maybe they're an individual have a banger of a business idea. They just need the backing of money to get it off the ground. They need capital to get their business idea off the ground, and that's where we're coming in. And so we partner with this person who's got the idea, and we're going to provide the labor and the resources. We're going to bring the people together, and we are going to produce something. Well, the person who is being a producer at that point, we're going to give them a little bit of a different deal when it comes to patronage. Their patronage shares are going to be based upon how much money that they produce after wages and expenses for VAWMA. So let's say, again, we are incorporating a pre-existing business, already existed. It was call it Bob's Stuff, and Bob's Stuff has, maybe half a dozen employees, and Bob is running it. And Bob wants to retire eventually, and when he retires, he doesn't want his employees to go unemployed. He wants them to be able to continue to the business that he's been working at for all these years. So Bob is going to come in, and VAWMA is going to purchase his business, and we are going to continue to run his business. But in the meantime, Bob is going to run the business like he was previously, only on this time he's going to be running it on behalf of VAWMA. So he's going to become a producer. And so then at that point, for every $1,000 that the business that he's running, after the wages, after the expenses, every $1,000 that it produces, that we get to share in the payouts sort of idea, and pay taxes on, that's going to be, he's going to get a share of the producer's patronage in this particular example. We have a comment here from chat. Let me just take a moment here to read it. I imagine union members, if they're only union members because of economic necessity, they could eventually make enough money via the VAWMA gig to become dedicated members and get more patronage. Absolutely, and in fact, that's the vehicle through which you can become a dedicated member, or that I envision becoming dedicated members or incorporating new dedicated members into a pre-existing cooperative, happens through the union thing. And so we would bake into our bylaws that if you're a union member and you're working consistently at one co-op in particular, and there's hours for you after you've worked so many hours at that co-op, they would be obligated to offer to you membership, a dedicated membership. You could opt to buy in, so you can change your $300 a year buy-in to the whatever the buy-in is for that particular co-op, and it's all based on that co-op's initial startup budget. And then you would transition into becoming a dedicated member of the co-op that you were originally hired to work part-time, and then the part-time gig turned into a full-time gig, and now, you know what? Sure, yeah, why not? I'm in, and you're in full thing there. So that's pretty much the different member classes. So we got community member, $300 a year or $25 a month, and they get one share for every $50 they spend. Our union and dedicated members, they're a little bit different. Union members, $300 a year, same as community members, and they also have access to the consumer patronage, but also workers' patronage. Union members get a half share for every shift worked. Dedicated members get a full share for every shift worked, and as well as the consumer patronage. Producer members, they get a share for every $1,000 that they produce. In addition to when the producer member is doing the work of running that business, they'll also get workers' patronage, because you're doing the work. You should be getting the patronage for doing the work. And of course, if they're taking a coffee break and going to our coffee pub to pick up a coffee, absolutely, they'll get consumer patronage. So that's all of it there, sort of a quick review. Now, there's one more thing that we get to do in terms of payout, that in order to talk about or to consolidate a member economic control, and that of course is the Community Investment Fund. Yay! So this is where we bring democracy to the community and democracy to business, and this is where I love that. We do a job, we get paid. Brown coat philosophy, absolutely. And at VAWMA, people are our bottom line. I love it. Okay, so Community Investment Fund. We've got a couple of different options here. So the way I envision this is that throughout the year, we're going to have like a series of general meetings, and building up to the great general annual meeting that we have, where we find out how much money we've made and distribute the patronage, and also we figure out where the Community Investment Fund. So in all the meetings leading up into to the general annual meeting at the end of the year, we're going to have opportunity for people in our community to make proposals for what we use the Community Investment Fund for. And there will be criteria that will be met. We'll probably have a committee made up of a mixture of dedicated members, union members, and community members, and producer members, and just members in general, that will go through the different proposals for what the Community Investment Fund can be. And what I'm thinking is that it will be things like artist grants, education bursaries, mutual aid funds, mutual aid projects, and community partnerships. And so artist grants, I think, are pretty self-explanatory. Here we're thinking like $10,000 maybe for a grant proposal for an artist that takes 3 months and make some art, make a sculpture, paint some pictures. Whatever artists do. I'm not one ish. And but that would enable them to be able to do whatever it is that they need to do and produce the art, and we can support it, and that's the point. So then we've got our education bursaries. We're gonna we're right next to a high school with this coffee pub in my mind, and it would absolutely make sense for us to if and when we end up having student members who are part of our cooperative network, that they would also be able to unless their families to become community members, and those families would be like, hey, you're telling me that by virtue of being a community member of this, I can put money in the Community Investment Fund to an education bursary that my kid could then get access to or apply to have access to. Absolutely, I want more money in that education fund. So that's one of the things that we can do in the Community Investment Fund. Mutual aid funds. We got mutual aid programs. There's like a community kitchen or something that needs regular donations so that they can build a budget. Maybe we can help out with that. And community partnerships, this is the famed public-private partnership, type BS that we always love hearing about on the radio. This particular thing, I'm thinking, this could be like community playground equipment type thing, where businesses go in on and help with the municipality with putting up playground equipment in our parks and things like that. So all throughout the year, we get all these different proposals, and then these proposals get compiled into a list, a ballot, if you will. And then we send this ballot out 2 months before the end of the year annual general meeting, and we ask all of our members, our community members, our union members, our dedicated members, our producer members, they all get the same ballot, and we ask them to check off as many of these different community proposed uses for the investment fund as they would like to see happen. So we go to our community members, and our community members are, for the most part, by and large, on average, they want everything to be. Some people want the artist grants, some people want mutual aid, some people want community partnerships, some people want bursaries. Either way, the community overwhelmingly votes in favor of all these. And then we go to our union members, and our union members, they like education and mutual aid. And then our dedicated members, they like education, mutual aid, but also artist grants. They like artists. They got artist friends. And then our producer members, they're all about the community. They're all about everything. And so we then take everybody's ballot, we compile it up all together, and we take a look and we split the 200,000 that was created here in or set aside for the community investment fund. 30% of it would go to mutual aid funds, 15% of it would go to the community partnerships. I should say community partnerships, whatever. And then we got 23% going to artist grants and 30% going to education bursaries. So this is what we are doing as a community with the profits or the surplus that we make with VAWMA. We're investing them back into the community, and that's how we participate, do the general workers participation with all that stuff there. So that's the end of that particular presentation. Coming back now to the main screen. We are going to bring it up to the conclusion now, and shout outs for what it is that we're doing and how you can become involved. But basically, what we're looking at in terms of member economic participation is that if you buy in, you should get something back at the end of the day. And I know that the more I research the cooperatives in the wild, like S Group or Mondragon or the various other cooperatives that exist out there, the more the more I pick up on the fact that it's kind of strange to get to the things to the point where it's paying out to people, which to me seems ridiculous in a day and age when we have mega corporations that are making billions upon billions of dollars, have trillions of assets, or trillions worth of assets. I just keep imagining what it would be like if we could take those same multi-billion-dollar corporations and just make them member-owned. Make them worker-owned, community-owned. If everybody just had a share in what was going on and could then get patronage out of those, things. What if Amazon was consumer-owned? I mean, the thought experiments are just mind-boggling. But that's envy. Let Jeff have his thing. We're going to do our thing. And we're going to create a network of businesses where workers can, instead of being wage slaves for people like Jeff Bezos, can come and work with their friends at businesses that end up, like as we've just gone through, that we detailed, after we pay our taxes, after we set aside savings, and after we set aside for the future, with what's left over, we invest that in the people who are doing the work and in the people who are living in the community and in people who are living there. This is true community ownership as far as I can tell. And also, to wrap things up nicely, how we accomplish member economic participation within the Voluntary Association for Work and Mutual Aid. My name is James. Thank you again for joining us. You can always find us here, YouTube, at www.youtube.com/@VAWMA. You can see it down here below me. If you're already watching us, chances are good you already know that. So like and subscribe, leave a comment in the thing down there at the bottom. Also, a little shout out to Kat and what she's doing with Live with Advantage. In Dungeons and Dragons, when somebody gives you the help action, the player rolls with advantage. So let her give you the help action to let you roll with advantage. You can look up and find her stuff at livewithadvantage.com, I believe. I'm not 100% certain. let's yeah. I think that's pretty much everything we got going. Once again, hello and goodbye from the now freshly becoming sunny budding rural metropolis of Owen Sound, located in the northern half of southwestern Ontario. Do not forget, you are awesome, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.